Cleveland, Tennessee's Alvin Jackson fought in the war in Vietnam. We told his story the first time in 2020. We've told more of that story in the years since. Friends, loved ones, and nonprofits learned that Alvin and his wife Zandra's home was in bad shape, and over the last few years, they built them a new one. The Jackson family finally got the keys to that home in the summer of 2023. But just a few months later, April 2024, Alvin lost his wife Zandra. She passed away after battling illnesses for several years. Just a few days after that happened, Alvin and Zandra's granddaughter, Era Wilson, was killed in a car crash. She was just weeks away from her high school graduation. On what would have been her 18th birthday, I went to talk to her friends and loved ones. They wanted to celebrate what Era Wilson meant to them. Here's part of the story from that night. A big celebration that came with some very painful memories.
The officer got on the phone and she asked me if I was Era's mom, and I said yes. And she said, I'm sorry to inform you, but there's been a very bad accident, and your daughter did not survive.
This day would have been Era Wilson's 18th birthday. She and her boyfriend, Tess Jackson, were killed in a car crash just before their prom in April.
Don't ask me what happened after that because I don't remember. I just know that I felt like I couldn't breathe.
A room full of Era Wilson's closest friends share stories of what she meant to them.
This was me and her in class, and we would just dance. She was a dancer, so we just always dance.
Many may wonder what people will say about us when we are gone. Many here told me different versions of the same story about Era Wilson. What do you want people to remember about her?
Her smile. She was always so welcoming and accepting. And, you couldn't say no to that smile of hers.
On this episode of Tomorrowtown, Tennessee, we're going to skip the usual intro and get right to the story. What you're about to hear are interviews from friends and loved ones sharing their memories of Era Wilson. Tell me your first and last name.
My name is Malia Jones.
Tell me how you knew Era.
Well, in elementary school, we did play basketball for 1 year against each other. I was definitely scared of her. So it was just itty bitty. Even today, I'm still itty bitty. But and then in middle school, I was the new girl, and she was just very welcoming. Her and my best friend Parrish, she was very, very welcoming. So I was glad I was able to come to a school that I was scared of, but she was welcoming. We instantly clicked. We were both silly gooses, made jokes, always had the biggest laughs. But that's one thing I definitely remember of her is the laugh she brought to the room was insane. So.
You said that she was scary. What made her scary in the basketball court?
I don't know. Maybe I don't know. Everyone was taller than me, but something about her, she just had a fierce look. But now I know it was just always in a sweet way, but she did have a fierce look. It did scare me sometimes. So.
You don't, and I don't obviously know you at all, but just from meeting you the last few minutes, you don't seem like a person that would be scared of people.
I know, a lot of people say that.
You see, like you came right inside out and seem comfortable off the bat, so you don't seem like somebody that gets intimidated easily.
Not easily, but she did sometimes.
That's fair.
Always in a loving way.
That's fair. Obviously the news, April 26th, I guess. I think everybody in this room knew her. That's a hard day.
It was a hard day.
What can you remember about when you learned what happened and how that impacted you?
Well, when I first found out, I was literally I had woken up and my mom texted me because my mom and her mom were very close in high school.
This is Era's mother, Tika Wilson.
I got a phone call, and the phone call was from Shai's mom, and she was upset. She was crying hysterically. I couldn't really understand what she was trying to say. The only thing I got from her was that someone knocked on her door and told her daughter that there had been an accident and 2 kids were dead. Didn't know who the kids were. And she asked me if I had seen Era. It was like 2-something in the morning, I guess, 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. And I said, Era should be at home, because that was past her curfew, And I was at my parents' house. My mom had just been buried 4 days prior to this phone call. And so I was staying with my dad to help take care of him. And she was like, no, her car is at my house. And I said, why is her car at your house? She was like, her car is still at my house. And I know she was upset, you know. And so I was like, well, who are they in the car with? You know, because she was like, they left. She didn't know all the answers or the details either. And I just was like, you know what, let me just make some phone calls. And so I didn't even know who I was going to call. I just was like, I need to get off the phone. I didn't like how that conversation was going. So I called a couple of friends who obviously they were knocked out, didn't answer. Called my pastor. They answered. I called her dad and called my oldest daughter. So I told them I needed them to come over to the house. And when they got to the house, I told them what was going on, you know, what I had heard. And a little girl had texted my daughter and said, we need to get to the hospital like right away. So I had tried to call Era's phone and she wasn't answering. And when we got that text, I was like, she's okay. I need to get to the hospital because they're telling us to get to the hospital right away. So I'm thinking she's up there hurt. Phone, you know, maybe lost if she was in an accident. So we got in the car and we were on our way to Athens, and I got a phone call from my son. And my son was crying. My son was crying. You need to talk to my mama. You need to talk to my mama. That's all he kept saying. And I was like, what is it, Seidel? What is it? And then the officer got on the phone and she asked me if I was Era's mom. And I said yes. And she said, I'm sorry to inform you, but there's been a very bad accident. And your daughter did not survive. Immediately, I thought, I didn't hear her, right? You know? But I heard her. And then in my mind as a mother, I heard my son screaming and crying, and he was home alone. Whew. He was home alone, and I told my dad, I was like, we've got to turn around. I said, she didn't make it. She's dead. And my dad was like, what? What do you mean? And I was like, they said that she didn't make it. Well, we've got to get back to the house. Seidel's by himself. That's my son. And we turned around, and as soon as I got to the house and got out of the car, the officer was standing in the driveway, and it wasn't, are you Era's mom? I'm sorry, or anything. She was just like, is this your daughter? And it had a picture of Era's face on the phone, and she was smiling so big. And I said, yeah. She was like, I'm sorry, she didn't make it. Don't ask me what happened after that because I don't remember. I just know that I felt like I couldn't breathe. And I didn't want to believe it. I know, it's like, this isn't happening. Not my baby, you know. And then I just wanted her. I remember I wanted her. And they were like, someone's going to call you. So they didn't know where she was at. And I wanted my mom. I thought if there's ever a time I wanted my mom, it was right then. Because, you know, moms are supposed to fix everything. And I wanted my mom to be there to fix it for me. I felt so alone. I felt so empty, and I felt life is not fair. But my pastor and his wife were there. They were there, and I really appreciate them. They're always there.
Okay, my name is Chelsea McCastle, McCastle.
Chelsea is the granddaughter of the Wilson and Jackson family's pastor. Tell me how you knew Era.
We actually went to church together, so my grandparents' church. It was my sixth grade summer. Every summer we have this thing called AIM, and so they held it in Chattanooga. So she went, and then we sat in my auntie's car and we talked and got to know each other. And so that was the first day that we met. And ever since then, she's just been my best friend.
Had you, some of these questions might be hard, so just bear with me. Had you lost anyone close to you before this? That's a hard thing to go through.
Yep. Yeah, it's hard.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Tell me about today. What do you think about today?
Today, I think today's special. Yeah. I think today's very special. So today, just like make it all about her, you know. Yeah. It's hard, but it's special too. So yeah. And like seeing some of her other friends, and then like our church family being here. So yeah, I think it's good.
Toriana Hawkins.
Probably a lot of mixed emotions.
Yeah.
Some sadness, but also just the fact that everybody came together is a good thing. So just tell me about today.
Okay, today it feels kind of weird that she's not here with us. I know she was always excited to turn 18. She would always say, "I'm grown now. I'm gonna be grown. I'm young and tired." So I mean, I know she's here with us in spirit.
What do you want people to remember about her?
Her smile for sure, and how she was a good friend to others, and how she was always welcoming.
Parrish, Tomlin. She was really a bright person. She's always smiling, goofy. She's always had a smile on her face. Like, she just brought memories to everyone. Like, there's nothing bad about Era.
Olivia Williams. One thing about Era, she loved God. And she loved her surroundings. She was so nice to everybody. That's what I used to say to her. I used to say she was too friendly. But that's a good thing, though. Because she needs to be nice to people. You're supposed to be nice to everybody, but that's Era.
This is Malia Jones again. Is there something you want people to understand about her?
She loved everyone. She never had a problem with anyone. Like, no matter who you were, what type of person you were, she loved you. You could be a new person, like a shy person, and it did not matter with her. She loved you no matter what.
I want to thank you for listening to this episode of Tomorrowtown, Tennessee. I hope you listen again real soon.